Hi and welcome back to my channel. My name is Lauren, the film student extraordinaire, and today we are talking subtitles versus dubbing.
I was kissing you with my eyes open, but you said keep them closed and be in the moment.
This video was inspired by a conversation I had with my cousin. We were talking about Squid Game. She asked me if I was watching it with subtitles or dubbed. I said subtitles, she said dubbed, and I was like, So that was the inspo. Before we get into the video, don't forget to like the video as you're watching if you like it, comment as we're watching, and of course subscribe because we are on the way to 1,000 subscribers. Yay! Without further ado, let's dive into the content. Grab the computer because I have my notes and I got hair in my mouth. Public service announcement before you watch the video. I thought this video was going to be really organized and cohesive, but I don't think it is. So I am so sorry about that. And yeah, I apologize, but I hope you enjoyed it anyways. I'm going to read these. These are some basic definitions I just want to establish before we get further into the video. Subtitles translate a film's dialogue into written text superimposed on the screen, thus allowing you to read along and follow the actors as they speak in their native language. Dubbing or voiceover most often involves getting actors to read a translation of the script in a language common to the region where the film is being distributed. Today, it's typical for many regions to offer both subtitled and dubbed versions of many films when possible. I will add that a lot of people will use closed captions and subtitles interchangeably. Technically, they're not the same. Subtitles are translated, closed captions would be the same language. For example, when you watch a lot of stuff on Netflix, you may say turn on the subtitles, you probably mean the closed captions. I'd say at first when you think about dubbing versus subtitles, you might just initially be like, well, you know, if you want to just like listen to the movie, like if you're going to be doing stuff, you can't do subtitles because you can't be reading and doing other stuff. Or there might be someone who's like, well, I want to hear it in the official way, so I'll do subtitles. And that might be it. It might be, you might think that's all there is to it, but it's actually a really complicated issue that brings into light politics, ableism, obviously money. Money always comes down to things. Everything always comes down to money. That's what I meant to say. And that's what we're gonna get into in this video. So just for like a little heads up. An interesting thing is, regardless if it's dubbing or subtitles, original dialogue is going to be changed. When it's subtitles, on average, a third of a film's dialogue will be cut. As of 1978, it might be different now, but that was when the study was done, because people can read, and some of them can read fast. I think I can read pretty fast, but they have to cut things out so that it doesn't like take forever to read everything on the screen. And when it comes to dubbing, in order to try to match lip sync and, you know, try not to make it look completely unbelievable, things have to be changed. Additionally, certain phrases we just don't use in our language, but with subtitles it's not as bad to read, but it's more obvious when you say it out loud. And then you need a good dub or viewer engagement will drop. That's because you need to believe the voice is real. If, say I'm talking, but the voice you're hearing, I'll see if I can edit this, it's like not matching at all and you just want to scream because the audio and the mouths aren't lining up and you just cannot watch it. Because even if you say I'm doing other things, at some points you are probably looking at the screen, and if you see things aren't lining up, to me that makes me want to, you know, like I have to stop watching and find something else. It's very problematic. And I'm not the only one. I personally watch with subtitles, but every now and then I will watch dubbed. For example, I was watching Howl's Moving Castle a few months ago. That I watched dubbed, and I think it's easier to watch for me personally, especially like anime films. Sometimes animated, it depends on how old the animation is, when it's dubbed, because it's not so obvious with the lip sync. But live action, I really struggle watching with dubbing. Some pros about subtitles, according to some articles. Also, as usual, all my articles will be linked down below. So a great thing about a subtitle is that you can enjoy a full performance. Yes, dialogue is important, but it's about how the dialogue is spoken, intonation, where you put inflections, certain pauses, like the heart-wrenching sounds that come when someone's speaking their lines. And when you replace the voice, sometimes you get people who are way overacting, or they're doing a good job, but it's just not the same raw emotion as what was shot in the moment when something was going on. So you lose that performance. Subtitles, although in this case I would consider them to be more closed captions, can also be really helpful for those who are hard of hearing or deaf, because obviously they can read it. Now if you're blind, you obviously cannot read, so you need to have dubbing. This goes into ableism, which I will get into also later in the video. The idea of the cinematic experience, though, can go both ways. When it comes to dubbing, you get to experience it without having to read. You can just kind of experience the visual medium without doing like two tasks at once, reading and watching. Now, some people say it really bothers them, and other people, like me, I don't really care. Now, I also don't always have a choice. As a film student, we watch a decent amount of foreign films, and especially when you're watching it in a class setting, it's always subtitled. Your teacher's never going to show you something that's dubbed. So you just are like forced into it, and then you just get used to that kind of style. And in fact, like I sometimes watch movies with my parents that are older, foreign films, and my dad was like, we watched M. I said, I don't think there's a dubbed version. We watched the subtitles, and then at the end, my dad was like, oh, there was a dubbed version. And he was like sort of amused, but sort of annoyed because he's a slow reader, so he sometimes struggles with the subtitles. I felt a little bad for that, but at the same time, I think it's best in its natural native language, which is German. When it comes to money, dubbing is a lot more expensive than subtitles. Both of these things do bring in money. According to Chris Carey, the Chief Revenue Officer and Managing Director of EU New Media Group, formerly BTI Studios, it's one of the biggest subtitling and dubbing companies, they generated 44,000 hours of dubbing and 300,000 hours of subtitling in 2019 alone. So there's obviously the big money coming in, but dubbing is like 10 times more expensive than subtitles, because subtitles, you're just typing stuff out. You can have people type pretty quickly. But with its dubbing, you have to get voice actors. The more places you're trying to have the dubbed versions of, you need additional actors. You need to sometimes like do multiple takes. It just becomes a lot, and you're trying to say things and match with the vowels. It takes a lot longer, so it's just a much more extreme process. However, like for children, a lot of children's movies, especially like Disney Plus, will do their best to have a ton of dubbed versions, because children can't always read, they can't always read quickly. So if they want to be saying like showing like Moana in different countries, they need to have different languages. When I was doing this research, I found a section where someone was saying that they can't follow along with subtitles. Lorenz says, dubbing is greater than subtitles every time. Subtitles, you have to read so fast, which is so hard. I can never keep up and miss everything that's going on screen. People saying this is a bad take it up with my brain, lol. I can't read fast enough to follow along with subtitles. I wish I could, but I can't. I'm a very slow reader. Also, when I watch movies, I'm doing other things. So if I look away from the screen, I don't know what's happening. Some people attacked her for being like a lazy film watcher, but for me, there are times when I'll be doing multiple things. For example, if I'm watching a movie, usually I've already seen it, I'm rewatching it, maybe I'll be working on my scrapbook at the same time. Or like sometimes I like to have background noise while I'm cleaning. Versus if I go into like the cinema, I'm watching a movie for the first time, I have a different experience. And this brings up the idea of, are there right and wrong ways to consume media? Who decides these definitions? And is there also someone kind of policing them as well? Personally, I don't think there's a right or wrong way to consume media. I think there are situations where things are more or less appropriate, but at the same time, it's always up to you and your experience. For example, I like talking during movies, not like in a theater, but if I'm at home, I like to comment. My dad hates when I talk during movies, so I try not to talk that much when I'm watching a movie with my friends who don't care. I will say more comments. Both of those are like proper ways to do it. They're just different situations. I think people can be pretty insensitive when it comes to the debate. I did a poll on my Instagram story. We'll show the results here. Tons of people said subtitles. Now, a lot of the people who follow me are film people, and a lot of the people who bothered to respond to the polls are especially film people. And I also am a film person, and I definitely already said, like, I like subtitles. And this could be seen as like a snobby take because, you know, we're taught to be embracing film's native culture and doing this and that. And I found this tweet that really summed this up in a nice way, with the ways of how it's not explicitly saying, oh, we're snobby, but why people like subtitles. Check. Some accents are hard to understand. Low dialogue. People who are deaf or have difficulty with hearing exist. Helps with spelling and understanding context. Why people don't like subtitles. Subtitles. Can't read fast, brain hurty. That's super rude. Very insensitive. It's not thinking about the other side at all. And I did find a lot of people's comments, which I appreciate everyone sharing, and I agreed with parts of them, sometimes I agreed less, was that like dubbing has its uses. And I think for people to just completely bypass that and just be like, oh, you're a slow reader, it's kind of rude. It is rude. And as someone who does sometimes watch films dubbed, I can appreciate that, you know, I can just like listen to it. I can maybe grab some popcorn. I can look down for a second. You can't look down at all in a subtitle movie sometimes. I was watching a movie a couple weeks ago at the Nerd Film Festival. I like blinked slowly or something. Like, I don't know what happened. And I was like, oh man, I missed something. I was like, oopsie. And that was disappointing because I was annoyed at myself. But at the same time, I was like, okay, you just like had a moment. Like, I shouldn't be annoyed at myself. And if I was at home, I could have rewound it. But I was in the theater, so I couldn't do anything about it. But it's just like an interesting concept to think about. Then there's also the ableism. The thing is, as I said earlier, they're all important. I will repeat it. If you're deaf or hard of hearing, subtitles are incredibly important. More specifically, closed captions versus like subtitles as a whole, but same idea. And then if you're blind or have difficulty seeing, dubbing is very helpful because then you can hear it in the language that you understand. So it's like everybody has important needs, and that's why I think it's so great that so many films now have options. Because, like, for example, my videos, I sometimes will try to do closed captions when I have time, but because I make 2 videos a week and I'm a full-time student with a part-time job, I just don't usually have the time. And I do feel bad about that because I understand that the auto-generated subtitles suck. But I try. An interesting angle I did not even know about until I was researching is the political angle. So apparently, dubbing was traditionally used in nationalist propaganda because in fascist European regimes, like in the 30s and the 40s, when you would listen to a movie in a native language, that was a thing with cultural values. They could change a couple things, so it also was helping with censorship. I had no clue about that, but it does make sense. And it can also have a real-world impact on learning languages. For example, if you're trying to learn English and you're watching a movie, you're hearing English and reading your language, you can maybe be like, oh, these words mean the same thing. So they actually found out, as of 2019, non-English speaking countries that routinely subtitle their non-native TV shows have a higher English language proficiency versus countries that dub their non-native TV into the local language, which I think that's super interesting. Obviously, if you want to watch movies in the background, or if you need dubbing or subtitling for any other reason, that doesn't invalidate you, but I just think it's cool to know a little bit more about like the background and the impacts of subtitles versus dubbing, because I just hadn't thought about it until I was doing this research. There's also country preferences. Now, if you had told me, well, I think, let's rephrase. There's like this idea that a lot of Americans don't like subtitles because it's like a chore, they gotta read, blah, blah, blah. But according to this article, Russia, Germany, Spain, Italy, and France, you prefer dubbed films, but UK, Belgium, Ireland, Greece, Denmark, the Netherlands, Norway, Finland, Portugal, Sweden, the US, Argentina, Mexico, South Korea, Malaysia, South Africa, India, and China prefer subtitles. So obviously the myth of Americans preferring dubbing, like as a whole, is not true. I am now going to go through some of the responses that I got from my Instagram followers because I asked them for their responses, like to explain their decisions, and I think they're just worth sharing. So we're gonna do that, and then I'm gonna end on my favorite quote about subtitles. To be honest, it depends. Anime films I don't mind dubbing, but subtitles to live action. That's what I believe, so I agree with this person. I don't really need to speak on it anymore because I already did. Someone else said, I'm a very slow reader, so I get stressed with subs, but dubbing cheats the experience. See, I think if you're a slow reader and it affects your ability to understand the movie, I definitely understand dubbing. Because then, like, how are you supposed to enjoy the film if you have no clue what's going on? I don't know if I would say dubbing cheats the experience. It's definitely a different experience because you're no longer hearing the initial voice. So it's not the original experience, but it creates a new experience for you. So that's what I would say versus cheating. If anyone says dubs, you should stop being their friend. I think this is a joke because I know who said it and I'm 99% sure it's a joke. But I will want to reiterate that that's like insensitive, and if it was serious, I would be super upset about it because we don't know why they choose dubbing, whether they just enjoy that more, whether they, you know, just want to be able to just like totally chill when they're watching a movie, and if they zone out or zone in, it's fine. We don't know. So we try not to judge people on their movie watching decisions. My personal take, if you're watching movies, you're doing the right thing. I don't want to focus on reading the entire time. I want to pay full attention to the scenery. This take I respect. I personally disagree, but if you're a slow reader, I could understand that you're reading the whole time and then you don't see everything going on. I think because I've watched so many foreign films and watched so many movies with subtitles, I'm just used to taking in a lot of information. And also as a film student, I'm like trained to look for things as well, so I feel like I can't really speak to this anymore after doing so much film analysis. Dubbing loses the original performance from the actors. I do completely agree, because then you're hearing a voice that wasn't the actor. So the body and the mind and the mouth are no longer connecting entirely, which I can definitely understand why that would ruin the experience in a way, definitely change the experience. And unless you get a good dubbing voice, it's not gonna feel synchronous. Let you experience the original acting like was intended. Dub us isn't great. I don't know what dub us means, unless they mean like dub US isn't great. Potentially they mean like other dubs are better. But again, subtitles let you experience the original acting. Unsynchronized mouths are distracting and sometimes inappropriately amusing. Yeah, so that would be with dubbing, especially like a serious scene, like something horrible's happening, somber, whatever it is, and the mouths aren't lining up. It's really hard to stay in the moment. It's hard to believe what's going on. And films are about taking you into like a dream world, a dream reality where you believe things wholeheartedly. So I can understand if things are like, obviously, like when mouths and audio are lining up, you're like, this is not real life. And you may know a movie's not real, but when you literally can see it like that, it's very disconcerting. No staticky audio, also more accessible for people who are hard of hearing. So this is saying subtitles are the pro. Again, I know I'm saying a lot, but just remember, if you're blind, dubbing helps you at least still enjoy the audio of a film. On first watch, it's nice to focus on plot visuals, especially for intricate storylines. So this would be for dubbing, that way you can just look in the movie, you don't have to worry about trying to read anything. I think this is kind of, I can understand this, especially if you're like having trouble reading and keeping up versus just hearing stuff. I do think that because both of them are going to cut out some of the original storyline, if it's really intricate, you're going to lose it either way, but I can respect this. So subtitles get a better sense of one's culture. I can get this because the phrasing is going to be a little different versus when it's in when it's been dubbed, it's in the style of the audience's culture. And that's it. So the last thing I want to say is I apologize again for the all over the place-ness of this video. I thought I did it right, but I guess when I was making this last night, I was off my rocker. So sorry about that. Also, my last quote. In the words of Bong Joon-ho, who did Parasite, Snowpiercer. Parasite won Best Picture, by the way, and it was South Korean, big deal. Once you overcome the 1-inch tall barrier of subtitles, you will be introduced to so many more amazing films. Now, that is obviously a dig at people who don't like subtitles, and at the end of the day, I still will definitely choose to watch a movie with subtitles or show subtitles more than dubbing. But I hope this video just kind of brings to light a couple reasons why people would pick one or the other. So next time you have a conversation, you can listen genuinely, maybe bring up your something you learned, and also remember that how they watch a video doesn't affect your movie watching experience. And if you watch movies with someone who likes different things than you, just take turns. Just take turns. You can do it. And that wraps up this video. If you liked it, even though it was chaotic, please give it a thumbs up. Comment down below your most interesting thing you learned, and if you like subtitles or dubbing. And of course, don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you next time.
I guess I never loved you like I love me. I guess I never loved you, and that's okay with me. 'Cause someday I'll love someone like I love me. Might have to wait a little, and that's okay with me. Okay.